We'd like to welcome you from wherever in the world you join us today for this F1 qualifying session here in Shanghai, China.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. This is episode number 3 of season 3 of F1 2018 career mode. This is the Chinese Grand Prix. You can see we have a wet qualifying here for the start of this session. So this will be interesting. This will be our first test in intermediate or changeable conditions, so we'll see how we go. Heading into this episode, we did an upgrade to weight reduction, and we also did drag reduction, which should improve the car heading into this race. The big comment that I got from the last episode was, Ben, if the engine is so bad, if you're so bad in a straight line, why the hell have you gone for chassis and aero upgrades? Well, the main reason is the aero upgrade was really cheap. It was only like 250 points, and also the weight reduction is also one of the most OP things you can upgrade on the car. We'll get back to that. We've got Sebastian Vettel overtaking us on our qualifying lap here, so this is great. I don't even think he's on a lap. I think he actually came out of the pit lane at the start of this lap. I could be wrong, but either way, this is just interrupting both of our laps here. We're up by 8/10, mind you, so the track is somewhat getting faster. Bear in mind, it's not very fast at all. Like, the track was, I think, too dry for intermediate conditions, but the track was still a little bit too damp for dry tires. It was really frustrating. But in terms of the upgrades, I feel like I made the best choice heading into this episode. The drag reduction was really, really cheap, and weight reduction is one of the most OP upgrades you can do to your car in F1 2018. It makes you faster in all aspects. It makes the car turn better, it makes it, you know, a bit more nimble, it makes it faster on the straights, and we did drag reduction as well, which will make us faster in a straight line. So it's not like I haven't worked on straight line speed. It will be better than what it was last episode. We've just gone about it in a different way that benefits the car in all areas. I hope that makes sense for you guys, but that will be a target area for us going forward. But for the moment, I really want to work on this chassis. I feel like there's a lot more potential there to be made. Once we work on the chassis, then I'll look at other areas like the engine performance. When we get to like tracks like Canada, for example, we'll focus on straight line speed where it really does matter. But anyway, this lap, you can see we're up by 2/10. We gained a little bit of time in the areas where we were held up by Sebastian Vettel. It was good enough for P17 in the end, so not a disaster in terms of qualifying. I feel like we, even still with that lap, we could have gone faster. We actually, I feel like if I nailed it, could have made it through to Q2. That says a lot about the potential of this car already. So, I'm not too disheartened in this one. I feel like we're going to be able to challenge even more so in the race, given that we'll have more grip. The car was very, very tricky at a traction zone, so I had to nurse the rear tires a little bit. So, heading into the race, all is not lost. I still think we can potentially fight for some points if strategy goes our way. It's time for the race. Let's see how we do.
Ever since the Sauber of Felipe Massa passed Jenson Button into turn 1 at the very first Chinese Grand Prix in 2004, Shanghai has consistently provided close racing and extraordinary memories. It's where Lewis Hamilton effectively lost the title in his rookie year, and it's where Nico Rosberg claimed Mercedes' first win of the modern era in 2012. We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo, and Sainz, Hülkenberg, Grosjean, Ocon, and Fernando Alonso. Leclerc, Gasly, Kimi Raikkonen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Perez, Ericsson, Van Dorn, Mr. Monaco, and Brendan Hartley. Magnussen and Lance Stroll rounds off the grid.
Interesting looking grid now as we get ready for this race. The Saubers in 15th and 11th. Much like Marcus Ericsson was starting last in the Bahrain Grand Prix, came back to finish second, so watch out for the Saubers today. As always, the Ferraris and Mercedes are always at the front whenever we don't make it through to the final parts of qualifying. But it's race time for the Chinese Grand Prix. An absolutely horrible start off the line there, just wheel spin. Again, this car really needs to sort itself out in terms of that. I don't know, the power delivery is really, really weird, given that we don't have much power to begin with versus the other teams. I don't want to know how unstable that rear end is going to be when we apply more engine power to this thing, but we'll see how it goes. 15th place it is, we get past Ericsson. So a great start for us there. We'll see if we can go late under brakes here into turn 4. Thank you very much. That's P13 for the taking. The confidence is really high on this first lap, given that we just have so much more grip than what we were used to at the start of the weekend. Practice, there's not much grip there. Qualifying, it was intermediate conditions, so what do you expect in terms of tyre grip? Now, we just feel like we've got an absolute rocket ship under us, despite us fighting very, very hard for the second time in 2 races now with Marcus Ericsson. We'll see how long we can keep him at bay for, but I don't know, to be honest, it's not really worth fighting too hard at the detriment of our own race and our own positions that we could be fighting for. So we turn the engine down and we let him go there. So once again, we're going to use the tactic of staying in a slipstream as long as we can, using Ericsson as the guinea pig to disrupt the flow of the cars in front, and hopefully we can overtake some of those guys. But he's just absolutely checked out up the road, already getting past Gasly, and didn't really slow him up too much in the process. Virtual safety car is deployed here on lap 4. Someone is out of this Grand Prix. I think it's Carlos Sainz, who is just stopped on the circuit. So that is really unfortunate for him. It means we won't be finishing last in this Grand Prix, I suppose. But we've got our sights set much higher. What was that? Did we just run over something? I have no idea what that was. We just ran over the curb and there was this awful noise coming out of the car. Let's have a look on the replay. I kind of swerved as well after to see if I could dislodge it, but I don't think anything came off the car, so that was really weird. It just sounded like something was dragging on the floor of the car. But on the replay cameras, there was no evidence of that noise and there was nothing that came off the car, so that was really, really weird. But given, going back to what I was saying earlier, this is the Chinese Grand Prix. This is a much easier circuit for us to contest with the AI. Sainz is still in this race. You remember, he was the cause of the virtual safety car earlier. He was stopped right on this point in the circuit, and now he was behind us, and now he's just come into the pits, and all the ultra soft runners are now in the pits as well, which promotes us well inside the top 10. P5 it is at the moment. So we're looking pretty good. The ultra soft tyres is 2 steps softer than the current middle compound that I'm running at the moment. So anyone who was on the ultras might be doing a 2-stop in this race. Valtteri Bottas has already made his stop and he's gone on to ultras again. So he might be doing a 3-stop. That is really weird. If there are people doing 3 stops in this race, we will beat them. I know this car is slow, but 3 stops is far too many stops to be making in a 50% race. I don't care how fast you are just throwing away 30 seconds at least by doing that strategy. Let's see what he's up to.
Bottas is ahead of you. The gap is less than a second. They're on old ultra softs. Their tyres are 2 laps old. We think they've got 2 stops remaining.
There you go. He's on a 3-stop strategy. So he's going to stop 2 more times, and he's going to be stopping in maybe 1 or 2 laps time, because you can only get away with around about 5 laps or 6 laps on your ultra soft tyres. And yeah, he's going to be on pretty equal footing with us as well, because we're going to be stopping in a few laps as well, going on to the mediums and then running to the end of the race. Lewis Hamilton right behind us, freshly put on his soft tyres, and he'll be doing a 2-stop, because you can't take the softs all the way to the end from here. So we could be massively in the game here, depending on what the other AI cars are doing. We're already contesting with the front runners, who are looks like doing a 2-stop in this race. Imagine like what some of the slower midfield teams are doing, given that they don't have the same pace advantage that these guys have, and they're already, you know, racing with us. So this will be an interesting one. This race could go really well for us, because we're still in P7, almost halfway through the race. We'll have to wait and see. These guys are massively faster than us at the moment, and we are losing a lot of time in all this squabbling that we're doing with the front runners. They're just head and shoulders faster than us. They have A, fresher tyres, and B, a car that is 1.5 to 2 seconds faster than us. So it's just a case of letting these guys go in areas that don't really cost us too much time. Now this is Ricciardo diving up our inside into the 3rd sector. This is not an area where I want to be letting cars through, because you can see just how much time we lose to the car in front when we squabble into a corner like that. So pretty frustrating, but there's not too much I can do about it. We're going to put it up in a rich and high deployment.
Okay, we can
We're going to
take
box
this
at the
up.
end of this lap as well and put on the medium tyres. This is just getting silly now how much time we're losing. Now battling with Nico Hulkenberg. So we could be battling with Hulkenberg for some fringe points today. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll keep an eye on it. But early doors,
Understood.
things
Stop
are
this
looking
lap.
pretty good. Into the pit lane we go. We can brake really late here. Don't go in too deep, otherwise you'll end up Lewis Hamiltoning it. That's a word. Into the pit lane we go. Slow down for the marks. And this is our one and only pit stop of the race. Interesting that Raikkonen, with his 2 or 3 stop, I don't know what the hell he's doing. Probably the same strategy as Bottas. He is finding us for position now, halfway through this race. 2.0 second pit stop. Again, the pit stops on this game are absolutely insane from the Williams boys. They really are looking after me, and we've only got 20% boost in terms of pit stop speed. We'd be easily in the ones if we got an extra 10% performance out of those guys. But rejoining on the circuit, it was very close between us and Brendan Hartley there. He's going to get overtaken by Raikkonen for sure, even though he's on cold medium tyres. Goes round the outside, and that is job done for Raikkonen.
Increase ERS
So,
deployment. It's time to use some of
P17
this
at the moment,
charge.
the track position doesn't look great right now, but everyone, literally everyone, apart from maybe Raikkonen in this race, needs to make another stop. So it's well and truly game on, as Hulkenberg is now out of the Grand Prix. You can see he's pulled off to the side on the back straight, and that is Alonso, who is stopped on the circuit as well. So that's 2 easy positions for us, which will be easier for us to get inside the points today. Virtual safety car only lasted about 30 seconds. It allowed my teammate to get a free pit stop under VSC, so he might be faring pretty well in this race as well out of this. But away we go with green flag running again. There's 14 laps to go in this race. Bottas made a mistake. He went off the circuit and into the gravel trap, hit one of the polystyrene barriers, but didn't sustain any damage, luckily. You can actually lose a bit of your front wing if you like touch that DHL foam barrier, for example, if you're really unlucky. But yeah, lap 16, we're settling into the race quite nicely now. These medium tyres are pretty slow at the start of the stint, but they're only going to get faster and faster and faster, to the point where we're actually catching up to the back of Sergio Perez, who I believe has a problem. I think the engineer said something was wrong with his car, and now we're going to make the first legitimate overtake in F1 2018 career mode for the Williams. That isn't on the first lap. It is job done. We have found a position. How magical is that? P12, and the guys inside the points are just up the road. So we've got Van Dorn, Raikkonen, and Ocon, I believe. So let's see what we can do. If we can overtake these 2 guys, that will be 1 point. 1 singular point, which will make all the difference for us in the world of backmarker land. So let's see if we can get a nice exit here at the final corner. Rich fuel mixture, high ERS deployment. We're negative in terms of fuel, but that's okay because we seem to save fuel very easily in this car. Let's see if we can do the under and over. Up the inside into turn 2. That's 1 overtake, and that is a double overtake into the second part of that corner. So job done. That's P9 for us now. Someone else made a pit stop. I'm not too sure who it was, to be honest. It might have been Bottas. I actually think it was Bottas who made a stop. So there we go. P9, 2 points against our name currently. Still 9 laps to go in this Grand Prix, so we're not completely out of the woods yet. We can still get easily caught by the cars behind. We've got Van Dorn and Ocon, who we saw, who were pretty slow, but they've already been overtaken by Carlos Sainz, and now the danger man, Valtteri Bottas, on fresh, soft compound tyres. So he's going to be absolutely charging through this field, while I, on older, medium tyres in my desperately slow Williams, I'm going to have absolutely no pace towards the back end. So I'm hoping that Sainz and McLaren and Bottas can battle quite hard here to slow each other up. This is Bottas overtaking both of those guys. He gets some front wing damage. He's got front wing damage. So that could easily allow us to hold on to a points-paying position, depending on if Bottas makes another stop to make it 4 stops in this Grand Prix. How crazy would that be? But he's going to be nerfed in terms of pace now either way, if he stays out on his broken front wing. So we could still get P10 in this race. We've got Carlos Sainz going to the inside into the 3rd sector. We're squeezing him right up against the white lines to make sure that we hold on to this position. All these points are absolutely crucial for us if we don't get points today, it's basically like a DNF. So we may as well fight this all the way to the death here in this Chinese Grand Prix. 4 laps to go. Running still pretty negative in terms of fuel, but we're getting there. We're almost in the green, despite battling away and using all of our pace that we have at our disposal. Side by side into the back straight chicane, and Sainz is still there on the outside. He's got fresh soft compound tyres, so his pace is absolutely insane at this stage. I'm saving a bit of my battery at this point in the lap, so Sainz got a really nice run on me on the run into the final corner. Again, he goes to the outside into turn 4. I'm going to see if I can hold it on the inside. Well, it's not going to be quite enough. He's going to have the inside for the next left-hander. I think this might be over for us for this position. Sainz up the inside. I don't have the aero grip to stay with him, and that is job done for him. P10, and just one singular point for us remaining with 3 laps to go in this race. This is so tense in this Chinese Grand Prix. Sergio Perez is up next. So he's overtaken Bottas. Bottas is nowhere in terms of pace right now. The danger man is Sergio. Track warning for track limits. Oh my god, I'm losing my voice. This is absolutely insane. 2 laps to go. We're still going faster, despite the tyres getting older. The fuel burn is just gaining us more time than what the tyre loss is in terms of grip. So that's good to see. Sergio is right on the back of us now as we start to slide out the back end and just use all the tyre grip for what it's worth now. 2 laps to go. Still very, very nervous at this stage. I'm having to manage the ERS so that Sergio doesn't go upper inside here. The AI is so strong into this corner for some reason. They just, I don't know, they get a slingshot off that double left-hander in the middle sector, and I'm left like a sitting duck pretty much. But the back straight, if I can break the slipstream, I'm able to keep them at bay, at least Sergio at bay, so that's good for me. This is Charles Leclerc, who has come from 11th place on the grid to win the Grand Prix. It's a pretty dominant win for Sauer, and Marcus Ericsson once again comes from absolutely nowhere to get P2 in the Chinese Grand Prix, rounding out another domination race for Sauber. The fact that they were able to use the harder compounds in the race, they did 1 stops versus other people who were doing 2 or 3 stops, so no wonder they won the race. But here we go, this is the final lap of the Grand Prix. Not Carlos Sainz, Sergio Perez all over the back of us. We're having to save a bit of our ERS here so that we can pretty much dump all of it here in this 3rd sector, up in a hot lap and then overtake to the higher gears to get that top speed. And we're just doing our best to break the slipstream so that Sergio can't get anywhere near us. We're going to go defensive to the inside to protect that, heading into the final sequence of corners. Sergio around the outside, better tyres, better car, better everything, but it looks like we might be able to keep him at bay as we go through the final corner. This will be our first points-paying position for Williams, and boy did this come quicker than I hoped.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
And now it's time to wind down and celebrate after that fantastic Grand Prix. Here they come, your top 3, out onto the podium.
Can we just take a second to appreciate how underwhelming that reaction from the engineer was? We just scored points in a bloody Williams, and he reacts like that.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Drivers face potential risk because they're overweight. It's claimed that they're more prone to heart attacks and
Is that it?
Was that it? Hopwood has more.
Well, I'm bitterly disappointed.
I'm sorry, but is this normal for you? Are you expecting points? Are you expecting race wins every single time? I think you need to have some more realistic expectations, Mr. Jeff. But there we go. That has been the Chinese Grand Prix. 1 singular point. We worked that bloody hard to get 1 point at one of the easier tracks on the F1 2018 calendar. We're off to Baku next, I believe, which will be a straight line speed paradise for the Saubers. It's going to be a tough race, that one. I'm going to hope for some absolutely craziness, some demolition derby stuff into the castle section, and hopefully we can pick up some points there. We're 9th in the constructors. I think we're like 14th or 15th in the drivers' standings. I actually wasn't looking. I was looking out my window because the weather is absolutely beautiful today here in Australia, but here I am inside making videos for you guys. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more F1 2018 gaming content. In terms of the upgrades now, we have 1,100 resource points. We had some good interviews with the press, with Claire. We bigged up the chassis department, and that means that we have a modifier which makes it cheaper, which just puts us in the range to afford this part. So we're going to go for a major weight reduction, which will go on the car in time for the Spanish Grand Prix. So some major upgrades heading our way for that Grand Prix, as is always the case in real life. The big teams, or just teams in general, bring big upgrades for the first European round of the season, and it's going to be no exception for us too. So we'll have that going on the car, and who knows, after Baku, we'll have some minor upgrades going on, maybe engine, maybe aero. I think aero would be a pretty smart decision to make heading into Spain and Monaco, so that might be an area to look at for us. But after that, heading towards Canada, Austria, those will be all the races where we need to look at engine performance. G'day, Arif, how you doing? But there we go, that is this video for today. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, I'll see you next time.